Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the Spotlight Games podcast. Today we'll be talking about God of War Ragnarok, maybe actually hitting a 2022 release. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order's sequel has officially been revealed. We're going to go fast with Sonic Frontiers, and we have a ton of PlayStation news to sift through. I'm your host, Patrick, and as always, I am joined by my sweet dumpster boy, Cayman Darty. Cayman, how we doing today? Oh, you're muted. Hold on. That was my fault. Let's try that again. Cayman, how are you today?
Yeah, I see how it is. You're just gonna leave me on mute the whole episode. You got interviewed for a podcast. They talked all about you. Now I'm relegated to not just the second chair, but the muted chair.
The muted chair. Yep. Everything has changed.
Everything has changed. I'm doing good though.
Good. We have a lot to discuss, but I think that's a great segue. So we're going to do some housekeeping, but I'm going to jump ahead to a little bit of the housekeeping to talk about a quick little plug. I was on this week's episode of Gamers University podcast hosted by a friend of the show, Michael Santiago. You might remember Michael he came on the show. Gosh, at this point, it's been a few months now. Yeah. He was a guest here on Spotlight Games. Fun episode. He let me ramble about this show, Save Trash Cinema, my life, my careers. So if you're interested in any of those things, go over there, give it a listen. Give Tune, aka Michael Santiago, a little download, little subscribe. Give him a listen. Cayman, you listened to the episode.
I did. It was fantastic.
Thank you. I mean, I guess we should be thanking Michael. But hey, we have a lot of video game stuff to talk about because what you're listening to right now, maybe you're watching live on twitch.tv/SpotlightGamesPod, is the Spotlight Games podcast where each and every week we're going to talk about the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel or by subscribing in your favorite podcast app. Don't forget, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/SpotlightGamesPod. So be sure to come on by, give us a follow on Twitch so that you're notified when we're going to go live. Or you can always be on the show by simply emailing us your thoughts and your questions to mail@spotlightgames.net, or you can DM us on Twitter @SpotGamesPod or on Instagram and TikTok @SpotlightGamesPod. Cayman, we had a fun week this week in Save Trash Cinema Land. We turned back the dial of time to the year 1994, and we hit the streets with the banger that is Street Fighter. Tell the folks at home a little bit about a Street Fighter.
Well, Street Fighter is, like you said, a 1994 action film based on the long-running Capcom Street Fighter series. It stars one Jean-Claude Van Damme and a Raul Julia. And the movie is ass. Like, it's just, if you want to talk about
booty butt cheeks.
Booty butt cheeks. Yeah, that movie is rough on all edges. But it was an absolutely hilarious episode. We had none other than the Evan Brando himself, the backstabber, one might say. He was on the episode. He was our guest chair. And as you know, as the people should know, Evan Brando is a fighting game guru, one might say. And so he brought some interesting commentary and history behind some of the games while we talked about how asshole trash that movie is. So if you want to hear me lose my mind another week in a row, guess what? You have the opportunity to do so. It is live now. So go give it a listen. You won't be disappointed.
You sure won't. Our very own Guile, Evan Brando, came on by. Well, hey, we have a fat show today. And I'm talking PHAT. We got a fat one today. So why don't we jump in and get started as we always start our episodes of the Spotlight Games podcast with what we've been playing. Cayman, walk me through the last 7 or so days in the life of Cayman's gaming life.
Yeah, so I'm still playing the same games I was playing before. This time, I've put way more time into it.
Nice.
So I'll start off with the first game I've been playing, which is Evil Dead the game. Evil Dead the game. I was high on the topic of it last week, and the opinion has not changed in the slightest. This time around, I got one of the fans of the show, Bennett. You might know him from some of the mini-sodes from Save Trash Cinema or just some of the main episodes we do. We got on and put about 6 hours in the other night. Just the two of us killing some deadites, running through. What we found is that we were struggling heavily against against real opponents.
Okay.
And so the cool thing with the game is you can actually, so there's two different game modes you can do outside of just playing as a survivor or a demon. You can also play where you have four actual humans playing as survivors and one human as a demon. And that was proving mighty difficult for us. Our characters are pretty low level. And like I said before, the balancing on that is kind of rough. It's not fantastic. You'll have sometimes where we were putting matches or people who like were survivors with us who were like 20 levels higher than we were. And then of course, then the demon obviously is going to kind of match that. And so it was tough. We had a rough go about it. So what we ended up doing is we moved to the second game mode, which is where you can actually play an AI demon, and then have four humans as survivors.
Ooh.
You don't get as much XP for doing matches like that, but honestly, like it was a hell of a good time.
Hell
We
yeah.
had so much fun. We were able to, because the difficulty was a little bit nerfed during that match, because humans are just they're better than the AI. And so we had some time to be able to kind of fool around with some different characters that we wanted to try out, see which ones fit best for our play style. For me, I am better as a tank. I'm better as someone who can suck up a lot of damage and also deal a lot of damage. So I went with Henry the Red. Bennett, on the other hand, found a lot of success in a support role. So he played as Cheryl Williams and was healing and buffing our team the whole time, and it worked magnificently. The game succeeds best when you're playing with people. Not saying that the game is not fun if you're playing solo, but you can definitely tell, like, when you're having actual cooperative moments with your teammates and you're getting things done as a unit, it works incredibly well. So I'm still enjoying that. We're kind of working towards. We started a Save Trash Cinema Discord server, and so we're kind of working on getting enough people together through the Discord server to be able to jump in and play the game and actually do full private matches, which I think is going to be a lot of fun once we get to that.
For sure.
So we're kind of working towards that. So anyone out there who's playing Evil Dead the Gamer is curious about it, let us know. We'd love to play with you. The other game I've been playing is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. This I'm putting in way more time
Nice.
doing it, and man, this game slaps. Like,
Yeah.
it is just so much fun. Like, it is very much a Borderlands game. It is a loot, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
But the humor is really funny. The worlds in the game are crazy. The implementation, now that we're further in, the implementation of the D&D mechanics are really funny. There's like which is new to Borderlands, there's like an overworld. So it's like so it looks like, and you're kind of walking around like an actual D&D like miniatures map, right? And so you'll come across things where they'll be like, oh, there's like a Cheeto puff in the road blocking your path, and you have to figure out a way to get around it. Like, things like that are kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
It's really makeshift looking. It's really funny. Ultimately, the game is great.
Hell yeah. How's the narrative?
The narrative, I mean, look, the story has never been a strong suit for Borderlands. That's just the truth behind it. You're not going to get a strong story, which is a bummer. And you kind of wish, like, look, guys, like, you could get there. But the way that they structure it, with it being a D&D campaign and just kind of all the wacky shit that you get from a Borderlands game combined together, makes for some really comical moments. The learning curve is very low. So being able to get in and shoot shit and like learn the mechanics is incredibly fast. I will say that I did take a little bit of time to kind of just fiddle around in solo, because I've been playing the whole thing with my fiance in co-op mode. So did it, and I would realize like the inventory system, the maps, and everything are just way better if you're playing by yourself,
Oh.
which would work if you're playing co-op with people online. So if you go back, like doing couch co-op with the split screen, it's kind of a little bit of a pain in the ass, because like you're not being able to see all the stats that you want right off the bat. You have to dig through it. So that's kind of sucks, because if you think about it, like Borderlands is one of the last games that you can do couch co-op with.
Sure.
And so it's like, man,
Like AAA, especially.
yeah. And so it's like, man, like the fact that you guys couldn't figure out a way to make this work better just seems like a missed opportunity to really nail it home. But it also just could be that they think like, hey, not that many people are playing couch co-op for games like this, so why put that much energy into like fixing the UI when you are playing couch co-op? I do kind of wish that was better. Also wish that the story was a little bit stronger, but the voice
Yeah.
acting, you've got Andy Samberg, you've got Wanda Sykes, you have Will Arnett. The voice cast is awesome, and they are fucking hilarious the entire time.
Nice.
So we actually, just before we started recording, Sydney and I put in like an hour before we jumped in to record.
Nice.
So like we were playing religiously, and then whenever Bennett's deciding he's not wanting to go vacation and wants to go to a fucking Fish concert. I don't know who would want to go to a Fish concert, but whatever.
What a little piece of work that is.
What a piece of work. And so when he's not doing that, we're playing Evil Dead. And so kind of balancing my time between both and enjoying both very much. How about you?
Hell yeah.
What have you been playing?
I've been kind of jumping around a little bit. I think I might have found what I want to be doing.
Okay.
Like and it's based on a story that we're going to talk about today, which is Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay.
I might go back to that, but I haven't been playing it. I think I'm going to jump into that. But what I have been playing, Cayman, I want to talk about 2 games and a TV show.
Okay.
First game, I played the Mario Strikers Battle League demo. This Nintendo emailed me, and I'm sure they emailed anyone that has a little account with them. And then I went on the store, and they're kind of highlighting it on their store at the moment. You can basically play like the tutorial of Battle League at the moment, and it's leading into they're going to do like a demo, like an online demo next weekend or this coming weekend as of recording. So yeah, it was basically just like going through learning how to shoot, learning how to pass. But then what it does is at the end of each section, you basically get to play like a 2-minute scrimmage. So a lot of it was just tutorial stuff, but there was sprinkled in was a little bit of gameplay here and there. And I'm excited. Like it has me hyped for the game. It doesn't feel as good as I think I expected it to up front, but I also think that's partially because it's the tutorial. Like even those little 2-minute scrimmages, it's really a bite-sized version of the game. But love the presentation style. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm excited to this coming weekend to play some online matches to see what it's like, in the real aspect of the game. And then I was shocked to learn, Cayman, that there's a new Ni no Kuni game out.
I'm sorry.
Did you know this?
Can you say that one more time, just a little bit louder?
There's a new Ni no Kuni game.
I had no clue.
Ni no Nana.
How did I not know that Ni no Nana?
So it's back. You're gonna be pissed.
Okay.
It's back and it's on mobile and PC.
Oh boy. Okay.
And so I've maybe put in like 6 hours to this game so far because I've been like while we're watching TV, I've been playing it. And parts of it are Ni no Kuni as hell. And I'm loving that part. Art style's there, weird characters are there. The world, like it feels in ways, it feels very Ni no Kuni. However,
oh no,
it is the most gotcha fucking like there's straight up blockchain bullshit in this game.
What?
And like when you look at the roadmap of the game, it's like next quarter we're adding NFTs, and it's like, are you kidding me? Ni no Kuni, you're adding NFTs to Ni no Kuni? Now, I have not really experienced the cryptocurrency part of Ni no Kuni, but apparently there's these things that you can unlock that you can then like trade in to the game people to get like some sort of a new cryptocurrency. I've not really dealt with it. They're already telling me about it though. Like I haven't actually experienced it. Diggs BW7 in the chat. Hey, what's up? What's up, Diggs? So yeah, I don't know. I'm very torn right now. Like I really like the feeling and like the aesthetic of new Ni no Kuni game, but it's one of those. I don't play a ton of mobile games, but it's just a click fest. Like I'm clicking here, I'm clicking there. Like I don't feel like I'm actually doing anything. I feel like I'm just kind of watching a Ni no Kuni game and like redeeming treasure chests and opening things and adding buffs and things like that. I don't feel like I'm actually playing something. So I don't know. I don't know how much I'm going to stick around with it. At first, I was like, whoa, like there's full on voice acting. There's full on, like they're telling a story. I'm like, oh, wow, this like might be just a full on Ni no Kuni game on mobile. But as I've gotten further in it, I'm like, oh, this is not really that.
That sucks.
So I'll keep y'all posted on that. But at the moment, I'm not feeling good about it. And then final thing, I wanted to quickly talk about Halo, the
Sure.
series. I finished season 1. Season 1, I think, wrapped maybe like 2 weeks ago at this point. And over this past weekend, I finished streaming it. And like, I think it's a decent show. Like, I think there are some huge issues with it. But I'm excited for season 2. I feel like where they've left season 1, it feels like next season could be a lot more Halo-y than this season was. I feel like this season was a lot of like laying the groundwork. But like we got some really cool Cortana moments toward the end, and there were some cool battles and things like that. So I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. I feel like we're definitely getting a season 2, even though it's not technically been announced with how successful, quote unquote, it's been.
Sure.
Now maybe that's all marketing speak just to try and drum up more viewers. I don't know, but yeah, just wanted to, since I've been kind of checking in throughout the season, now that I'm done, wanted to give overall, like I would say if you're a huge Halo fan, I would say watch it, but know that you very much might not like it.
Fair.
If you're not a huge Halo fan and you just like sci-fi and you're not looking for like the next best sci-fi show, like if you're just looking for an 8-episode thing to binge or 9-episode thing to binge, like I think it would be worth your time. But I don't think it's overall. I'd probably rank it somewhere like the 6 to 7 range.
Fair.
So
fair.
could well actually the 6 range, not even the 7 range. Definitely, it's like a hard 6. I think.
Yeah, you kind of, it was kind of thrown for a loop when they were like, yeah, Master Chief loses his virginity, and then that fucks everything up. I'm like, okay,
it takes some turns in the last couple episodes. Like, wow, you guys are telling a story. That's for sure.
Oh boy.
But hey, who knows? We'll see. But yeah, so that's what I've been playing and watching in the world of video games over the last week. But why don't we talk about the world of video games? Came in with some news. Let's jump right out the gate with our opening story, which is God of War Ragnarok has been rated in South Korea. You know, you might be asking yourself, what does that mean? And this video may be inappropriate for some users. I know. I just play it. Okay, I guess no B-roll for this section.
No B-roll.
No B-roll. That's fine. So God of War Ragnarok, sequel to God of War 2018, was rated in South Korea. It was given an 18 certificate, they call it. This was as spotted by The Marmalade on Twitter. The country's game rating and administration committee has given the game its highest possible rating, which it defines as, quote, youths not allowed, end quote. By the way, I'm pulling from Chris Scullion at BGC. I skipped that. The whole video not working really threw me for a loop there. As South Korean rating doesn't necessarily mean that the game's release is imminent, it does give some hope that despite still not having a release date, it may still be on track for its promised 2022 release window. For comparison, Horizon Forbidden West was rated in South Korea in November of last year and then was released 3 months later in February of 2022. So my question to you, Cayman, is, does this news do anything for you because you and I both have been pretty strong proponents of God of War Ragnarok not coming out this year. Does this change your mind at all?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Here's the thing with the ratings boards is that we get leaks all the time that turn out to be nothing.
Sure.
Am I shocked that we're getting a ratings? Not really. Do I think that? I think in this particular situation, because we know the game is coming sometime. Do I think that it's going to actually launch this year? I'm starting to lean a little bit more closer to the yes it will side.
Yeah.
But if you look at the scale, it's still very much tipped into the no, it's not.
Yeah.
The silence coming out of Sony Santa Monica. There was that one video with Corey Barlog where he's like, hey, we're hard at work. We just don't have anything to show you right now. Believe me, we will show you some stuff when we have it. Here's my thing. We're not the way that PlayStation works or the way that Sony works. We're not just going to get an announcement that's like, hey, this game comes out in 2 months or 3 months. Best case scenario is, and I know we have a state of play coming up. Best case scenario is maybe at the end of July, we get a state of play that is just solely focused on God of War, and then they'll be like, yeah, and it comes out in November. That's a hope. If we
Sure.
don't get a state of play or get an announcement on an actual hard set release date by the end of summer, then I do not foresee this game coming out this year. The silence is deafening, and we got to think, like, with Horizon, they announced it for what? It was like, it was going to be November, or it was going to be September. And then as we started to get close, like a few months, they were like, okay, hold on. No, we're going to have to push it. We're going to have to delay it a few months just to make sure it's ready. And then it got rated. And then a few months down the line, bing, there you go. We have a drop for it. So do I think it's going to come out this year? I feel a little bit better about it coming out this year, but I still don't think it's going to. I still think that, like, a lot of these ratings boards will take and basically just make the assumptions right off the bat. It's easy to do a rating for a game like God of War when you can be like, yes, this game is not going, like, statistically, this game is not going to be T for teen. It's going to be rated M. Like,
Sure, but do you think that they can give a rating without having seen a semblance of the finished product?
I mean, I'd assume as much.
I
mean,
would have guessed that if they're giving a rating, that means, like, similar to like with movies, like they have to submit something for it to be rated. But maybe that's not how it
sure.
works in games. That's just, it's kind of outside my
You know,
wheelhouse.
I'm not as 100% familiar on. I do know that you are correct with the movies. They do have to be submitted beforehand because there's a lot of editing and chopping that sometimes takes place. With video games, I don't know entirely how that works. But like I said, we've just seen time and time again that ratings boards have released like crazy shit, have come out and been like, oh, this just got leaked on, Indonesia's rating board, that there's like 4 games that are going to be coming out, and then we never hear of them again.
Sure.
So I don't know. I mean, there's always a chance that this is like the first clue and the first like teaser that, holy shit, like we could be getting a state of play that's focused on God of War very soon. Or this could mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of leaning more towards it means nothing, just because Sony has been so mum. And this is a game that I would imagine Sony is going to put a massive marketing push behind. And it's not going to be one of those games that they're going to be like, oh, this game's going to come out in a couple months. Like, I don't see that happening.
I feel like there is a strong 5% chance we see it this Thursday at the State of Play, which is a story we're going to be talking about next week.
Yeah.
And the reason I say 5% instead of 0%, which I think is probably what most of the internet thinks, some keen-eyed people on the internet noticed that this State of Play, which we'll read the kind of announcement here in a bit, but in a lot of previous State of Plays, there's been a note at the bottom that's like, we're not going to show you Last of Us, God of War. Like, and they've like mentioned specifically, like, hey, we're not going to show you these titles. And it doesn't say that in this one. So some people on the internet are like, does that mean? I don't necessarily think it does, but I think it's possible because, yeah, I definitely agree with you. We're not going to get a date prior to like 3 months out. Like because they're going to want to market the ever loving shit out of this game. And so they need time to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we'll see. I hope that this is a sign for a 2022 release date, because I really want this game to come this year, but I want it to come when it's ready. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Well, speaking of games that won't be coming out this year,
hey,
Star Wars Jedi Survivor officially revealed and is coming 2023. We're pulling this directly from the press release. It says Star Wars Jedi Survivor picks up 5 years after the events of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Cal must stay one step ahead of the Empire's constant pursuit as he continues to feel the weight of being one of the last remaining Jedi in the galaxy. Developed by the veteran team at Respawn Entertainment, Jedi Survivor will expand upon iconic Star Wars stories, worlds, and characters, and thrilling combat for first experienced in Jedi Fallen Order. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is being built for the current generation of gaming hardware to create a deeper and more expansive Star Wars experience for players worldwide when the game launches in 2023. So,
what do you think on this trailer?
I'm very curious about who the long-haired chap is that's floating around in that tank, because I've seen some people on the internet and they've got some theories.
Capital T theories.
Capital T theories. One of the big theories is that Star Killer will be introduced as a
Ooh,
canon figure in the universe, which if those unfamiliar, Star Wars Force Unleashed and Force Unleashed 2 followed the story of Star Killer, who was essentially Darth Vader's apprentice in the games. The issue with the Star Killer's theory is that basically they would have to tell an entirely new story of Star
sure.
Killer.
Because he
So
couldn't really be
yeah,
his apprentice, right?
yeah. There's
Because
so
because
much
this
canon and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but because this game, for any of our listeners and viewers that watch or are watching Obi-Wan, the new show on Disney Plus, this game, like it takes place at like the same time period. It's like about 10 years after episode 3. So
Mhm.
I wonder how much crossover there could potentially be in, not main characters. Like I don't expect we would see Obi-Wan. I don't expect we would see Cal in the Obi-Wan show, although that'd be kind of cool.
That would be
But
cool.
like it's happening at the same time. So there's like Inquisitors are going to be a huge part of the story for sure. Um, yeah, I remember when the name leaked a few weeks ago, I was like Jedi Survivor. That's kind of a silly name. It just
Yeah,
doesn't
it's a
roll
dumb
off the
name.
tongue. But the
Mm.
more like watching the trailer, the more I think about it, I kind of like the name, and I kind of like what it's insinuating in that it seems like Cal is on this
Mhm.
journey to find some Jedi who has been surviving. And
Yeah.
so like who is that? Is it someone from like someone who survived Order 66? Is it someone from like a long time ago? Is the Jedi on like of the dark side? There's a
Mm.
lot to unpack, and I loved Fallen Order. It was one of my favorite games that year, so I'm really excited for more of
Let
that
me
series.
posit this to you. What if
What if? Tell me.
Jedi Survivor,
Mm.
you get into the game, you
Okay.
play as Cal, right?
Okay. I'm
But
taking
it's
my
set
glasses off.
entirely
Close my eyes.
on a deserted island,
Oh, I love where this is going.
and it is just filled with a bunch of chubby boys.
Are you telling me Jeff Probst is there?
Jeff Probst is there. And it is
Oh,
actually you have to survive on the island and win the game of Survivor amongst a bunch of people cosplaying as Star Wars characters.
look,
Don't tell me you wouldn't play
the
it
one thing that could make the tribal council even more incredible is some Jedi.
if it was the Jedi Council.
Oh my god.
Oh my, we just wrote it.
We
We
just
just
wrote it.
wrote the game, boys.
Somebody call Diggs BTW, call Jeff Probst right now, get
Yeah,
CBS on the line. We have
somebody.
an idea for a new reality show. Let's
Shit,
get
we
it
did.
done.
This
Let's
is
get
how we
it
get
done.
famous.
This is
Okay,
how we make our first million, I think,
this is how we
actually,
make our first million.
is
Um,
Jedi Survivor,
you know, I
hosted by
will
Jeff Probst.
I will say, jokes aside, the game looks very dark, and I'm not
Yeah, yeah,
saying that
for sure.
that Fallen Order wasn't. Fallen Order was very mature for a Star Wars property, especially going to Darth Maul's home planet. Like that whole area was like spooky as hell. And so this game looks like it's kind of staying in that same like very dark, very serious motif, and I appreciate that. We need more of that. Like, here's my thing: is we. I'm not saying that everything needs to be the Batman, but like some properties need to have the Batman level serious and dark that you get. Not everything can be Shazam. Not everything can be Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? Like you have to offset that. So you have to go from like some of the more like hoo hoo ha ha, this is so cute and funny. And like you need some of that other stuff. And I feel like Star Wars a lot of times is because especially recently has become way more dependent on these like kitschy characters.
Mm.
Like the what was the little thing that sounded like the Babadook, but definitely was not the
Oh,
Babadook.
Babu Frick.
Baba Frick, there you go. Like that, like that's or people are like, oh, BB-8. Like we a lot of times, like that's kind of the selling point is some of this more goofy kind of shit. And then don't
Right,
get me
because
wrong, like
it's a property for kids ultimately.
yeah. And so like I think it's fine to have some darker stuff. Like
Oh,
if
me
you look
too.
at comics, yeah, if you look at comics, like some of the best stories, especially Batman, some of the best Batman stories are dark as hell.
Sure.
Like the what is it? The Long Halloween, like super fucking dark.
Yeah, that's true.
And so some of the best stories are that. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the best stories, like All Star Superman, are just very lighthearted, and it makes you feel good. Like you know, so you have to have the best of both worlds. And I think that kind of the way that Star Wars has been going recently, like this is a nice, like a little bit more of a mature story for a more
Yeah.
mature audience. And I think that that's good. And so I like it. I think the trailer is a good mood piece
Yeah.
to really kind of sell like, hey, this is kind of what we're going to be getting into. Can't wait for 2023.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this game.
Me too. And like with the sheer amount of content Disney is pumping out that is Star Wars related. I mean, the amount of shit that they announced this weekend at their celebration, it's like there's room to have some dark shit with the sheer amount of shit that they are putting out. So
there is some room to include George Binks, who after seeing his disappointment of a son Jar Jar, he tries to kill himself.
Hey, anything's possible.
So, you know, I want to see that story live action. Come on, JJ. Where are you
Come
at,
on,
JJ?
You know
Tell
who?
me that story.
Tell us that story, please. You know
Tell
what? Who is going a little dark?
This is insane.
Sonic. We got a new. So this is just like straight from their Twitter. It's a new gameplay trailer for Sonic Frontiers, which was announced at the Game Awards last December, and then it said on their Twitter today that this June, so starting tomorrow as of recording or yesterday as of release, that they're going to be June's IGN First, which if you're not familiar, IGN First is basically like IGN is just going to be promoting a lot of exclusive content and coverage throughout the month of June about this game. So we're going to be seeing a lot of Sonic Frontiers over the next 4 weeks. And I got to say, Cayman, looking at this trailer that we have on a loop right now for twitch.tv/Spotlight GameSpot, it kind of looks dope as hell. Like I've never been excited about a Sonic game really in my life. And it straight up looks like Sonic has entered the world of Death Stranding.
Yeah, almost like it's like Sonic meets Death Stranding also meets Elden Ring.
Yeah.
What is up with like, because like Kirby kind of did the same thing where it was like post-apocalyptic future, but Kirby set in it. And I honestly really dug the vibe. Especially the amusement park levels I thought were done really well and like just really cool. It's something that like you don't really see like a kids game. Like if you see like an amusement park and it's like a very dark game, like it's going to be spooky, right? Yeah. And Kirby's like, no, we're not going to be spooky at all. We're going to just be really fun. This is kind of gives me some of those Kirby vibes where it's like we're going to set a Sonic game in a post-apocalyptic looking future, and I don't know what this game is.
Yeah, I mean this.
I know it's Sonic.
What I have it paused on, this looks Death Stranding as hell.
Oh, like, yeah, it does.
And then this, like, it's raining. It's I don't know. One thing that this game looks like it's going to capture potentially is like with 3D Sonic games, the few that I've played, my biggest issue has always been Sonic's whole thing is he's got to go fast. And with 3D, like really, honestly, both 2D and 3D Sonic games, the reason that I don't think that they work as much for me is because it is so easy to not go fast in that game. Like you hit any type of thing and you go to a screeching halt, and then you got to build that speed back up. And it's like, if the whole point is for me to feel like I'm going fast, this game looks like it's going to give me that with a huge open world.
So one of the things that gets me here is you see a lot of areas with like mountain ranges, right? Like if this is open world, and if I'm not allowed to just like launch myself off a mountaintop going like 700 miles an hour, then like I don't want to play it.
Sure.
Shoot me to the moon. Okay. Yeah, literally launch my blue furry ass 1.5 miles up in the sky. And if I die when I fall, I die when I fall. But let me do it. So I'm a little worried they're going to put like some like invisible boundaries. Like, no, you can't launch yourself off a mountain and that. But no, you're right. The whole issue with 3D Sonic games is that if you're doing 2D, the character is not moving side to side, right? And so you're on a track essentially.
You're right.
And so getting the velocity, the speed, and being able to feel like you're very fast works because there's no obstacles outside of what's directly in front of you or what's directly behind you. In a 3D game, there's obstacles that can be 360 around the character. So slowing down movement, it's just bound to happen. And that's what sucks about all the Sonic games. Or you end up turning into a ping pong, and you have kind of that issue with some racing games where it's like, oh, you hit nitrous and then it's just like, shit, I'm off rails. I'm going too fast now. I'm running into everything. So if they can find a way to balance that where you can still feel like you're going incredibly fast, but also feel like you're in control of your character and are not completely stopped anytime you touch like a small pebble in the road, then I think that they'll be onto something.
You said a word there that got me really excited. Nitrous. Where's
Nitrous.
the crossover with Fast and Furious and Sonic?
Oh
That's
my
all I'm
God.
saying. Why isn't Sonic in the next Fast film? If you can
Why?
get Rita Moreno, you can get goddamn Sonic.
You know, it's
Then
probably because Vin Diesel has been a huge asshole this
sure.
past, this movie. He's, for
Yeah.
some reason, I guess when you have a $1 billion movie series that you're essentially the face of, you can be that.
With great
So,
power comes great responsibility, Vin.
yeah, so you should
Don't let
cast
us down.
Sonic. Only ugly Sonic, though. I don't want a cute
Rat
Sonic.
Sonic.
I want Rat Sonic
Yeah.
in a Fast and the Furious movie. Just pot bellied, wearing a
Oh.
fucking corduroy blazer, baby.
Oh, let's go.
Oh.
Let's go.
Well, speaking of rats and corduroy blazers, hey, guess what? Sony has announced several new shows based on their IP.
Speaking of,
Speaking of rats, let's talk about Sony. Okay, so this comes from Ryan Dinsdale over at IGN. Ryan says 3 major PlayStation franchises are getting TV adaptations, with Horizon going to Netflix, God of War to Amazon, and Gran Turismo to a currently unannounced platform or network. There has been an update since this went live that the Gran Turismo project is actually a movie directed by Neil Blomkamp, which is fucking
weird.
weird as shit. So it was revealed in an investor briefing on May 26th and confirmed by industry insiders, including David Gibson on Twitter. Sony president Jim Ryan revealed during a Q&A that the company was expanding its entertainment adaptations even further. The long-rumored God of War series and other shows will join PlayStation exclusives, including The Last of Us, Uncharted, and Ghost of Tsushima, and being adapted to other media, though there's no inclination as to when these series will be released. The variety in streaming platforms isn't terribly surprising either, as Sony hasn't favored any service in particular so far. The Last of Us TV show will air on HBO, for example, while a Twisted Metal series is going to Peacock. Netflix, which will be home to the Horizon show, has already shown a strong interest in video game adaptations and video games themselves, with the likes of its hit League of Legends Arcane series and Castlevania Anime 2. Amazon Studios, meanwhile, is currently working on a Fallout TV series from the creators of Westworld, and a Mass Effect show is also coming to Prime Video. So, Patrick.
Ooh, a lot to unpack.
Tell me what you think, because boy, oh boy, do I have some thoughts.
So I think right now, I feel like it is too soon to have like informed opinions about this.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is Twisted Metal and Peacock, going to be garbage. I might eat those words, but it's not going to be good. Like, what are you doing? But maybe they'll surprise me. The Last of Us on HBO, that's the key here. I feel like if they can nail The Last of Us, then I'm more inclined to be excited for a Horizon show on Netflix, a God of War show on Amazon, etc. But
Sure,
I worry that, and granted, I mean, Sony is a huge company. Like, they have entire new departments handling this. It's not like this is impacting the games at all. So like, and if they come out with a TV show that sucks, what's it going to mean for me? Like, as long as they nail The Last of Us, the rest, whatever. But I don't know, like we have this cinematic trailer from Horizon pulled up, like the idea of this being a show, like it's interesting to me. It's cool. And it's like, it's bringing, diverse characters to the screen. Like Aloy, famously a woman, came in, if you didn't know. So like, there's things like that is exciting about it. But yeah, I don't know. I am cautiously optimistic about this. And like of the properties that they have, I think Horizon and God of War make the most sense outside of The Last of Us. Gran Turismo, batshit insane move. I have no idea what they're thinking with Gran Turismo, especially with it being a movie from the director of District 9, among other movies. So yeah, I don't know. Where's your head at, Cayman?
So I want to stop and just talk about Horizon going to Netflix.
Okay.
I think this is terrible.
Okay. Why?
So, okay, on one hand, it's going to get a huge budget, right? Look at something like The Witcher. Look at the way that they're doing Stranger Things. It's going to have a huge budget. But here's my problem. Netflix's track history with new IP is very weak.
True.
And I'm worried that even if this plays out and is good, the likelihood it'll get canceled is incredibly high because it's going to be a huge budget. Is Netflix going to be, I guess the question is Netflix going to be pitching into the pot? I mean, presumably for them to make this deal to work, Sony has to get a huge chunk of cash.
I would think so.
For agreeing to put it there. So either Netflix is optioning the rights to the live action IP, and then that's what you get there, or I don't even know how a deal like that works, but I'm worried that we're going to get one season where it's kind of like, yeah, man, okay, I could see that, because obviously in one season they're not going to be able to drop any like huge deals, right? I would say if anything, it'll probably the show will probably end. The first season will end like midway to 3/4 of the way through the first Horizon game.
Sure.
Or it'll be completely different and it'll be like Halo where it's just completely off rails from the start. But I'm worried that it won't get the just treatment with it being at Netflix. Netflix and you can hold me to this later if you want to let's say that I'm wrong. But Netflix to me it's a dying ship. Like it's a sinking ship.
Sure.
They put way too much emphasis on like these huge blockbuster everything now. I always like to harken back to when Netflix first came out. Netflix was Tubi. It was a paid for Tubi, but it was a Tubi. You didn't have original programming. You didn't have anything that like Stranger Things or Witcher or anything like that. Orange is the New Black, nothing. It was all like B movies, weird horror films from it, a lot of foreign films, a lot of South Korean stuff was on there. And it was a very different platform at the time. But as it gotten bigger,
OG streaming Netflix, or are you talking about OG DVD Netflix?
OG streaming Netflix was literally Tubi. But as they got bigger, more people joined on. They started, and basically they just keep dumping more and more money into it, and they're ballooning. And so that's why things get canceled so much. You get one season of a show that people are like, yeah, like Cowboy Bebop, for instance, where sure, it wasn't critically praised to a point, but also it wasn't panned. People liked it. I enjoyed it. Canceled after one season.
Sure.
And so I'm worried because video game adaptations tend not to do gangbusters. I mean, the whole thing with Castlevania is that the first season of Castlevania, I think, was like 5 episodes. And it originally was supposed to be a movie. It wasn't. And so they ended up breaking it up into a few episodes, and that was it. And it blew up. And they're like, okay, we can put money towards this to actually do that. I'm worried that we're kind of going to end up in the same situation like that, where they're like, hey, we've got some stuff coming up, and we don't need to put all of our eggs in one basket, so we're not going to greenlight anything until we know it's a huge success. And with the size of budgets that these are going to have, like, I'm just worried that it's not going to be successful. I think that Prime has way more money to be able to float around, so I think God of War is in better hands there, and I think God of War just as at least for me, I think works better in terms of like how that's going to be structured with the way that Amazon works. Because they like to do their TV shows are more cinematic. If you look at like the last couple seasons of Expanse on Amazon, we're like watching miniature movies. And so I think Amazon's a little bit more because they're not batting the same as something like, Netflix. But I think it's going to have an easier time being a success there than like Horizon will with Netflix.
Yeah. I think I wonder though if something as big as Horizon can, because like, yeah, definitely Netflix has a bad track record, but I wonder, and I don't have like the numbers in front of me, but I wonder what is their track record for huge franchises that they bring, things like The Witcher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Cowboy Bebop, I guess, is actually, it's a pretty big one, but it's also it's coming from anime, which is not a super mainstream format. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely, I think that is a really sound concern though, and I hope that having the backing of someone like Sony would potentially keep that from happening, assuming that what they make is quality. Like if it gets canceled because it's shit, well then it gets canceled because it's shit. But I mean, I know like from personal experience with friends that even shit that's really, really good on Netflix after one season can be canceled. Teenage Bounty Hunters as an example.
Yeah. I mean, here's my thing is that Cowboy Bebop more often than not is considered to be like one of the greatest animes ever made. Just ever made. Like you'll see it in the top 5 more often than not, maybe even in the top 3. The question is do we think that Horizon has that pull? Like with Witcher, you could argue that with Witcher, it's like, well, who like outside of like PC gamers who were able to play the first 2 Witcher games, Witcher 3 was a huge success, but the TV show wasn't based off the games, it was based off the book series, and the book series. Then the question is like, how much of the book series? But I really think a lot of that pull was just Henry Cavill. People love that beefy boy. I love that beefy boy. Okay, and he's perfect for Geralt. He's wooden as shit. You know, he doesn't have to use emotions. I mean, let's be honest. Henry Cavill, not a great actor. Perfect for Geralt. He literally has no emotions. That's the whole thing about being a Witcher. So, but I think people tuned in because they wanted to see Henry Cavill shirtless, which he was a good bit of the movie or a good bit of the TV show, killing monsters. And that's what they got. So the question is like, who's going to be the actress who plays Aloy? And is it Zendaya? Because if it's not Zendaya, I don't see this happening. I'm not even kidding when I say that.
I don't think it's going to be Zendaya. Honestly, though, I would fuck with Zendaya as Aloy.
When it comes out that Zendaya is Aloy,
I will happily say Cayman was right because she's an amazing actor. I love her.
You know, yeah. I think like Maya Hawke, Ethan Hawke's daughter, Uma Thurman's daughter, Maya Hawke. I think she would be a fantastic Aloy.
Sure.
I'm looking at like just the physical appearance. I know a lot of it goes into the acting and it goes into your presence and whatnot on screen. So it's a toss up, but like, I think she's a fantastic actress. Yeah, I think she could be a fantastic Aloy. But I could also see them being like, no, for us to do this, we have to have like a AAA name attached to the lead role.
I could also I could see both sides. I could see them being like, we need like someone like Zoe Kravitz to be Aloy, or I could see them being like, we need some no-name ass person. Sure. I think, because especially something like Horizon, it has a leg up on something like Witcher, whereas Horizon has a core cast of characters that like stay with that story. Witcher, it's a monster of the week show, like with a few extra characters. I don't know. I was gonna pose the question of like, who do we think could be cast, and then I forgot to think about it. So I don't have anyone off the top of my head.
I'll do it for you. I think Maya Hawke, fantastic.
I think that'd be a great choice.
She already has the Netflix experience.
Yeah,
she's in Stranger Things. I think she'd be great. But I do see where they would cast someone like Zoe Kravitz. Like I could definitely see that being a thing because that would be like a bigger name draw. And I think that's with someone like Netflix, if you're going to be putting that much money towards something, you know, it's like the whole Uncharted thing. Like, let's be honest, the whole reason that Nathan Drake was played by Tom Holland and Sully was played by Mark Wahlberg is because they were looking for the 2 biggest names they could to fit some archetype that they wanted, and that's what we ended up getting. And I think that the movie ultimately suffered because that was the decision.
So what you're saying is Tom Holland should also play Kratos?
Yes,
I think is what I'm hearing.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, what if?
All right,
let's just have him be Aloy too. Tom Holland plays all PlayStation lead characters.
All right. Well, we got another one coming up, Patrick. What do you say? You want to talk about this?
Let's get it. This is coming from the PlayStation blog. It's been more than 2 months since our last state of play. Who's ready for a new one? They write on the PlayStation blog. Tune in live next Thursday, June 2. So that's as of recording. This is in 2 days. As of release, you might have already watched this and know exactly what they're going to say. Tune in June to Thursday for nearly 30 minutes of announcements and updates from the world of PlayStation. We'll have some exciting reveals from our third-party partners, plus a sneak peek at several games in development for PlayStation VR 2. Watch over at Twitch or on YouTube starting 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 12 a.m. CET. I guess, is that England? CET? I don't know what that is.
Sure.
So yeah, what do you think we're going to see? So obviously they said going to have some third-party reveals and then PlayStation VR 2. Do you think we could get a PlayStation VR 2 release date? Okay, man.
I don't know what we're gonna see. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
I have no clue what we're gonna see. I mean, I don't even really know like third-party games coming out. Like, I don't know. We might see something about Konami's Silent Hill could potentially be teased. I
yeah.
mean, that depends if that's going to be a third party or if that's going to be an exclusive. So the partners part could be that these are just third party games that we're going to be seeing. So it could be some shit like, well, I was going to say some shit like the next Destiny expansion, but Sony bought Destiny, so that doesn't make sense. But no, I 100% think that we will get a release date for VR2.
Yeah,
I 1000%
I hope so.
think we will. I do think that we're going to probably a lot of this is probably going to be there. If we get a release date for VR2, we will 100% get a huge game announcement for one of the games coming to VR2.
I think I know what it is.
And it probably is the Horizon Call of the Mountain, like an actual,
like a real look at it.
A real look. I think that makes sense. If you're going to be launching PlayStation VR 2, it's going to have to come with one really, like at least one big game to be like, you'll want to play this. And so
I have an idea.
Tell me.
I have 2 ideas actually.
Tell me 2 ideas.
What if we get another first party tie-in game on VR and it's a tie-in to God of War Ragnarok?
Ooh, that actually.
And maybe that's them being like, VR2 comes out November 15th, and you can play God of War Ragnarok VR mode on the same day. Sony, if you're looking for a new announcer for State of Play, hit me up. But yeah, because I think I want to say they've gone on record saying that they want to do more of the Call of the Mountain type things. I think they've been on record. So
we're getting Mouse 2. We know that already. So that exists. Obviously, Call of the Mountain. So we might get a deeper dive. It's the what gets me there is obviously the sneak peek at several games in development for PlayStation VR 2. That just could be that, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm still hung up on like exciting reveals from our third party partners. Like, what is that going to be exactly?
Resident Evil?
That could be very well. This could be when we see an actual announcement for RE4.
I mean, that's been rumored for what feels like since the game originally came out.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. And I feel like with State of Plays, it's so hard to gauge what we're going to get because one, they give us like this very vague overview, and then sometimes you get a State of Play and you get an announcement, and it's like 700 incredible things.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get a 20-minute presentation where it is the most boring ass shit. And you're just like, great, I'm not excited about any of this.
And then they show Deathloop again.
And then I was going to make the joke, that we're going to see Deathloop. You know what? Honestly, I would not be shocked if they're like,
Deathloop VR.
Deathloop VR or Deathloop DLC.
Would fucking love that.
I know you would. Like, I could see them literally coming out and being like, you're going to get a Deathloop DLC. That's part of our third party partnership. But would you even call them a partner at that point? Because they're now,
since that's, I don't know that we'll get any more Deathloop stuff now that it's an Xbox owned thing. My other idea though, I just realized I never actually said the other idea. Half-Life Alyx. I think that's, if it's not part of the State of Play, I think that's absolutely a slam dunk that it's coming to VR2. I think with how big of a property Half-Life is, and even though PlayStation VR 1 didn't have a ton of, like, it didn't have Half-Life Alyx, and there were a lot of those kind of big name games that didn't come to VR, PlayStation VR, mainly because of its power. It's not as powerful as things like Vive. But it's going to be now. So Half-Life Alyx is like universally said to be the best VR game ever made.
Yeah.
So I would be shocked if that wasn't on PlayStation VR 2. So I could see that being an announcement here. But
Now, as someone who owns a PlayStation VR, not me, because I don't own it. What is the draw for you to update or upgrade your PlayStation VR? Is this like if they said, "Hey, you're getting Alex, Half-Life Alyx," or what is it for you that's going to be like the push? Because I know you've got a VR and you played it,
yeah,
but you never really seemed, at least from our conversations, to be like fully invested in the quote unquote future of gaming.
correct. Yeah, no, it didn't. There were certain games that I had an amazing experience with, things like Tetris Effect, Super Hot VR. There were a couple games that were really cool, but Astrobot Rescue Mission. But I would say I probably collectively played the VR for like 15 to 20 hours total in the time that I owned it, which is like honestly colossal waste of money. However, Half-Life Alyx, I like Half-Life so much that honestly that could be enough for me to get VR2 and then maybe like resell it. But I will say, eye issues aside, because part of the reason I might not do VR again is because my eyes are dying. And it's just VR is just like I played VR once since I started having all these eye issues, and it was like, wow, that was not a good experience for me. And I don't remember if they've already announced this, but if VR2 is wireless for PlayStation, or at the very least, it is just not nearly as cumbersome as VR1, because that honestly, that was the bigger issue for me. It wasn't even necessarily the games. It was that it didn't make sense unless I lived in a mansion, which I don't, to have VR out all the time because it's just so cumbersome. And
Sure.
then it was such a chore to get everything out. So if they can make that simple, if it lives in my closet and me getting it out and putting it on takes less than 3 minutes, then I'm already more inclined to go back to VR, because that was honestly the biggest thing is that.
Yeah.
Because I would buy, like, a game would be on sale. I was like, oh, I want to buy this so that next time I pull out my VR, I have something to play. And then I never touched it again. So like I have so many games on my system for VR that I never. So like my brother texted me. He's like, hey, do you still use a VR? I was like, no. Do you want it? Please take it, because maybe I can get some return on my investment for this. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I've never actually used the PlayStation VR. I did get to dabble a little bit with the Oculus Quest or the Quest 2, I think it was. And I mean, it's bulky as fuck. It's very bulky.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting concept. I just don't know if we're there yet. And Alyx could be the game that like changes my opinion. But there's only one of those.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so, like, I don't think that's I mean, it could change my opinion on whether I think, like, we are to a point where VR works and it works well. But until I start seeing more, like, critically acclaimed games on VR, it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to hold off until, like, there's at least a catalog there that can prove to me that, like, we're getting there. Now,
I mean,
the question, like you said, with VR2 is, like, is it going to be super bulky? Because I live in an apartment.
Yeah.
And now my living room's big enough. Like I'm lucky enough I have a large enough living room that like when we busted out the Oculus, it was cool. Like it worked well. Like we had enough space to be able to do it. But like, how much time am I going to spend in a VR unit? I was like just dripping in sweat and I was like fogging up because I was sweating so much with this huge thing on my head. And I'm getting all worked up trying to play Beat Saber. And it's like,
that was a really good one too.
And it's like, I just don't know. Like, I don't think maybe the PlayStation VR 3 will change my mind. But at the same time too, it's like I think what pisses me off about PlayStation VR, VR1 and VR2. We're getting a VR2. Okay?
We're not getting a Vita 2.
We're not getting a Vita 2. You're fucking right. The PSP,
I don't disagree.
The PSP blew it out of the water. People loved it. So they made a Vita. I don't think the PlayStation VR sold that well. and we're getting a fucking VR2.
Yeah.
So either Sony knows that like this is the future and it's worth putting money into
Mhm.
this. But like, where's my fucking PlayStation version of the Switch?
I
I want
honestly,
that way more.
I also want that way more, but I think your assumption of what Sony has in their pocket is right. I think because the other thing that I didn't mention about VR1 that really held it back was its controllers were a controller designed for the PS3. It was the PlayStation Move controllers.
Yeah.
And so there was only so much that games could do. So my guess, could be wrong. I'm not a game developer. I don't know shit from Shinola. Is that the saying?
I
Uh,
don't know.
but I assume that these new controllers that have been built from the ground up are opening up so many opportunities and options for VR2 that they didn't have before, because PlayStation VR1 was, like I said, it was using these things that were designed for a console that came out in 2006.
Yeah.
So like,
And they barely worked then.
and they barely worked then. Like, and they released like updated versions of them, but it was, the only difference was their charging port. It was like a USB-C port instead of the old USB mini or whatever it was. So I think that's the other really exciting thing, is I think there is the potential for actually making, like, quote unquote, like the future of gaming experiences, because we're not stuck in 2006 anymore with VR for PlayStation. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm definitely not going to be a day one adopter as of right now in this moment, but that could change. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of funny so I've mentioned this all the time, and I want to say I've been engaged since we've started this podcast. Feels like it's forever. I've been engaged. Good news is I am getting married in October, which will be right around the same time as our first 1 year
Oh, yeah.
anniversary. Yeah, will be the time. This will be fantastic. And so,
Episode 50 live at your wedding.
live at my wedding, live from the mountains. And so one of the things we were talking about, like, someone asked, like, okay, so what are you guys putting on your wedding registry? And we were like, we don't have one. Like, why? I'm like, well, we did a couple shower and we just asked for Airbnb gift cards because honestly, like, that's all we really need. We don't need pots and pans. We don't need fucking cookware. Like, I'm 31. If I don't have cookware by 31, then like, I don't know what I'm either way too rich or I am a slob.
But no,
which,
you have everyone else buy you new cookware and
See,
replace
but
everything. It doesn't cost you money.
Here's the thing. I don't need new cookware. I don't. I have we don't need we combined all of our stuff. So now we have like 2 of everything. We've thrown shit away because we're like, we had too much stuff.
All right.
So someone was like, well, put useless shit on there. Just things you want.
Ooh, yeah. VR2, Switch
VR2,
OLED.
Some fucking hue lights from my living
yeah.
room. Make my cinematic experience even better.
I love this idea.
See, but here's my problem with that, is that I'm like, I can't just ask people to be like, hey, hey, you know what? Instead of getting me a lacrosse, what is this called? The fucking Dutch oven. Like, I've already got a Dutch oven. It's called my fucking bed, baby.
Hey, I thought you were stumbling over the word LaCroix. I was like, really? That one is what's getting you? But
it's called Le Creuset, I think is what it's called. He was like, so it's like, instead of asking people, like, I can't ask someone to be like, give me something useless. When my brother got married, one of his things on his wedding registry was just like a 12-pack of Mountain Dew. Because they couldn't fill up the whole thing because they were like, I don't know what the fuck to ask. So like, it's for me, I'm like, I definitely could ask people for some wild ass shit.
I think you should.
But then like, I just would feel horrible for like my grandmother to be like, I got to go to bestbuy.com and I got to order some hue lights. What does this even mean? No, you're getting Tupperware, Cayman. You're not getting this $400 setup to make your living room look fun.
You put it on the registry, and that gives people the choice. If Grandma Darty doesn't want to give you hue lights, then she'll just give you an Airbnb gift card, because that'll be an option on there too.
Yeah, you know what Grandma Darty would give me? She would give me some like seashell lamp that she found at some beach in Daytona, Florida.
Honestly, probably one of the coolest lamps you'll ever put your eyes on.
I would throw that in the dumpster, Patrick.
I'm going to call her up right now.
Call her up right. You know what? I'll get her on the phone right now. We'll call her right now, live on air.
First time.
Live on air. First time. We'll call her right now and just be like, hey, Grandma Darty. About that seashell lamp, shove it up your ass.
Wow.
Whoa, I said it.
She's going to be having a trip to the hospital
You
if
know
we
what,
talk to her
Patrick?
like that.
You know what, Patrick? I think it's time to bring it home.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it home. Let's end our show as we've been ending our shows of late. And with it, this is a fat update. Again, PHAT. We are updating the 2022 game release calendar, the Spotlight Games release calendar. So here's some updates before we came in. The Quarry, the follow-up spiritual successor to Until Dawn, a game that I know you're excited about.
1000%.
Its online multiplayer has been delayed until July, but the rest of the game is still set to come out in a couple weeks.
I did not know there was an online multiplayer.
And now you're upset.
I don't know. It's hard to be upset about something you didn't know about in the first place.
Sure. Yep. Great. Yeah. I mean, I think the online multiplayer it's supposed to act as if it's like couch co-op, where if you want to like make the choices together with a group, you can do it online instead of just
gotcha. Like a Jackbox kind of
like a Jackbox situation.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Which is cool. But yeah, cool. I'm not doesn't affect me.
I don't trust my friends enough to make right decisions for me or themselves half the time.
How about a couple rumors?
I love rumors.
Some rumors from the rumor mill. Stray, one of my choices for the Fantasy Critic League, apparently is listed on Sony's back end, if you know what I'm saying, with the date of July 19th. So I think that's probably a safe bet for the State of Play. We'll probably get an official announcement at State of Play. And then one that you found today, TMNT Shredder's Revenge, supposedly coming June 16th. So if this is true, 100% at the State of Play, because that's in 2 weeks. And that's a game I could see having a 2 week out release date, because like
I do too.
People know about it.
I mean, it could be. I mean, it's in the thing is, it's the middle of the month. It could just be a placeholder for the time being, but I could see that having a 2 week. It's not going to get the same marketing push that something like God of War is going to get. So I see that.
Yeah. For you Switch owners, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is coming to Switch on June 8th. This is one that I'm very excited about because I wanted to play KOTOR 1 on Switch, but since the remake is happening, I'm like, because KOTOR 1, one of my favorite games, I was like, I should wait, but I'll play this while I wait. So it's coming out on June 8th, and it's not at launch, but it's going to be coming with the DLC, which any like re-release of that game since then has not included the DLC. So that's cool because I've never played the DLC.
Okay.
Lord of the Rings Gollum, a game that I was sure had been canceled by now.
I had no clue this game even existed.
Officially coming September 1st of this year. This is a game where you play as Gollum. I have no idea what the hell this gameplay loop is going to be, but September 1st, we're going to find out more. Maybe we'll see that at the State of Play. Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed is launching August 30th. I know you're excited about that.
Fuck yeah, I am. Absolutely. I just hope the Destroy All Humans, the remake they did, it just still had some rough edges that were archaic. I'm really hoping that because that was like the whole reason. I mean, it didn't get terrible reviews, but it didn't get great reviews, and that was because it still had some archaic controlling and some archaic shit around it. Yeah. So I'm hoping this version they listened and they updated those little things, because I think if they do, this game is going to be bonkers great.
Hopefully. Yeah, I've never played Destroy All Humans, but the trailer for Destroy All Humans 2 looks really fun. So it's one that I might pick up, because it seems like it's probably a really good Switch game as long as it runs decently. And then finally, we have June's Game Pass releases. However, there's an interesting piece here because they only gave the June releases up to June 7th. And I feel like usually they give more of the month. And I think the reason is because they're having their big Xbox and Bethesda showcase on June 12th. So I assume we'll be seeing the rest of, and since it's an E3 style showcase, I bet they're going to drop some bangers about what's coming. So, but for the beginning of this month, we have on June 1st For Honor, a Ubisoft game that I've never played, that I've heard is good, but I don't think it's a Patrick game. On June 2nd, we're getting Ninja Gaiden Master Collection. Also not really a Patrick game. June 7th, we're getting Assassin's Creed Origins. And not only are we getting Assassin's Creed Origins, but on the 2nd, so the 7th is when it comes out on Game Pass, but on the 2nd, they're bringing 60 frames per second support to both PS5 and Xbox Series. So I honestly, if Jedi Fallen Order doesn't do it for me, I might try out Origins again, because I remember liking that game, but I know it's your favorite Assassin's Creed.
It is.
Um,
Fantastic game. If you
so
haven't
yes, that's
played it yet,
coming.
guys, and you got a Game Pass, you
There you
should
go.
fucking play it.
Fucking play it. June 7th. And then also June 7th, we're getting Chorus, Disc Room, and Space Lines from the Far Out. 3 games I know nothing about, but they're coming. So, and that's it. So that's a pretty meaty Spotlight Games release calendar update for 2022, Cayman, which means only one thing.
Oh, no. It's the time we get to the end of the episode and we don't have an ending ready because we never planned the ending.
That's exactly right, Cayman. It's the end of the show with no plan. So, hey, thanks for coming along on the ride. Diggs BTW7 in the chat. Thanks for coming along. You've been here with us, I think, this whole time. And hey, if you haven't, I'm talking to nobody. And hey, you listening on the podcast app of your choice, you could be in our Twitch chat, twitch.tv/Spotlight GamesPod. Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern is the current plan until further changes are announced, which probably won't be. So come on by, drop us a little, ooh, hey boys, in the chat. Be part of the show. You can also follow us on Twitter at SpotGamesPod or on Instagram and TikTok at Spotlight GamesPod. You can follow me on Twitter, Patrick Schwag. You can follow Cayman on Twitter at Kid Cayman, at Patrick Schwag. The dumpster boy himself, recently verified, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they just sprayed me with Lysol.
Yep. Verified.
Like, don't ever submit this form again.
Correct. So yeah, check it out. I'll replug Gamers University, most recent episode. Check that out if you want to hear me ramble. And Cayman's getting married in October, so come to the live recording of episode 50 up in the hills.
They'll be dancing.
Ooh, that'll be dancing. That'll be kissing.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey.
I love you.
Let's bring it back. Let's click end broadcast as we say goodbye to those at home.
Goodbye.
End broadcast. Confirm.